News articles. Lots of news as always. This is in the world of physics. Einstein was very unhappy with quantum mechanics because of quantum entanglement, which he said was spooky action at a distance. Einstein's fundamental idea was if two particles are going to interact, a particle has to move from one to the other. But according to quantum mechanics, you can have two particles that are very far apart but entangled, and when you change one, the other changes immediately, the signal going between them faster than the speed of light. And this has now been directly verified by making a pipe 30 meters long, all in vacuum, all cooled to ultra-cold temperatures, with a wire, I think, between them, or perhaps it's fiber optic, I'm not clear, and then a cubit at one end and a cubit at the other end, and they're able to prove that the two are entangled, and then the measurement of one affects the other immediately. So it's the most direct measurement so far, showing that there is no such thing as local reality, which was Einstein's concept that reality is far more complicated than we think. And objects are not affected just by things that are near and touching them. They can be affected by things far away instantaneously. So our concept of space, a fundamental part of reality, is not accurate at the quantum level. So Europe is leading the world in building guardrails around AI, just like they did around other aspects of privacy. The United States is very far behind in regulating any of this. Our model seems to be to just let industry do whatever they want. And in Europe, they very much do not see it that way. So they're going to draw up rules for artificial intelligence. So any product that uses an AI system, they're going to group them into 4 levels, which is what they've done with other tech things. They had a series of tech from minimal to unacceptable. Riskier applications will have tougher requirements, like risk management, and they're trying to prevent AI threats to health and safety and protect fundamental rights and values. So some things are completely forbidden, like a social scoring system, like they have in China, where they give you a rating for how socially good you are. And I think a similar one is predictive policing. They're also banning that, which has been tried a lot, where they try to predict who's going to commit crimes, and it turns out to just reinforce racial bigotry. And it does lead you to the strange situation where you would like to arrest people who have not yet committed a crime because you think they're going to commit a crime. And anyway, so it's interesting to see them try to make these rules. And it may do us all good, just like their privacy rules did, because once Europe passes these rules, most large companies will just obey the rules everywhere, because it's not worth having a different version of the product for Europe and for America. So let me open this in a archive.ph window, which gets around the paywall. All right, this was much worse than I thought. This is a measurement of, wait, that's not the right one. Copy this. Wait, put the wrong thing there. All right. Fine. Anyway, the point, I'm not going to bother hunting, trying to get the stupid page to open. The point is they found an enormous amount of scam, like 20% of papers are faked in academic publishing, and it's growing rapidly. And if in China, it's more like 30% and growing much more rapidly. So this is actually something that was an open secret. And when I was in a research scientist 30 years ago, was that a lot of Russian science was stolen and fake. And now a lot of science all over the world is fake. The data is fake, and so on. So it's good to see people analyzing it, although the actual paper is hidden behind a paywall, and for some reason I can't open it. 4 students got this scholarship. You guys could presumably get it too, I guess, next year. 4 or 5 cybersecurity students became National Cyber Scholars, and this gives you, one of them got the bigger $9,000 grant, the other got the $3,000 grant, which gives you free SANS training. So if you have been doing the cybersecurity classes here, and I would imagine particularly the contests, you can become one of these. Sounds like a good deal. Going on to SANS training after the training here is a very good idea. So Google is making generative AI solutions for security. They announced it today. It will need Google Cloud. So it's going to have Google Cloud Security AI Workbench, which will tie into the Mandiant threat intelligence. And so it supposedly can help detect threats, make tools easier to use so that you don't have to train people as much to use them. So it just sounds to me like a way to improve detection of threats and responses to threats, which is, by the way, what IBM's QRadar does using their Watson AI. So it sounds like a very promising field. I can't say how good that particular product is, but it's a good idea. And Palm is another Google thing. It is a next generation language model, and it is intended to be better, multilingual. It's supposed to include scientific papers and mathematical expressions so it will reason better. And I'll show you some demonstrations later of why reasoning is in fact a weak spot of AI. And it's supposed to improve the coding. I must say, a lot of people say they're running coding with ChatGPT, but I tried it, and all the code it ever gave me wouldn't run. So it sounds good. They're going to need to make better models for that stuff. Oh, I'm probably there. Yeah. So Musk just announced that he's got a new CEO. It's a woman, and he'll start in 6 weeks. And there's a term for this. You may have heard the term glass ceiling, where there's this, women can only go so high, then they hit the ceiling, and only men can go beyond that point when getting promotions. This is called glass something else. I've forgotten the term for this. Yeah, glass cliff, where what you do is you make a disastrous business decision until the business is collapsing, then you put a woman in charge so it'll be her fault when it collapses, which is pretty much what this is. I mean, Musk has totally destroyed Twitter. And putting a woman in charge now so she'll be technically her fault as it collapses does seem to be the point. Anyway, so Anthropic has made an AI model that takes much larger amounts of input. The other one, this is so big you can feed a whole novel in as input. The others can only take shorter inputs, like a few pages. I see somebody, Jonathan has said in the chat, work by a Russian defector that the KGB published false academic papers, including the nuclear winter thing. Oh, that's an interesting idea. It's probably true, yes. Although the article I couldn't open there said that this is mostly because in China it's even more strict than in America, that if you want to become a full-time professor and get advancement, you must publish papers in academic journals. And so there's a huge incentive to just crank out more papers faster. Which is also true here. And that's, I think, what leads to people to falsify the data and use cheating ways to generate the papers. So there's a special large language model being developed for science, which will be trained for scientific work and also completely open. All the data and all the model will be completely open so people can do research on it. So that sounds good. And this woman is an influencer, 23 years old, and she wanted to respond to her fans who were sending her a lot of comments and stuff, so she made an AI version of herself, which will have a personal chat with every person, and apparently like videos or something, and it immediately broke the rules. It was not supposed to get into explicitly sexual content, and within a day it did. So this demonstrates a big problem with all AI, which is that it's very hard to make it obey the rules. You give it, say, don't do this, don't do that, and yet it's very easy to trick it into doing the things it's not supposed to do. With prompt injection and other techniques, this is a big security issue with AI. As AI is taking over everything, we need to develop better security controls for AI. And I'll have more and more projects about that, and more about it later. This, I'm glad to see, Ethereum. Ethereum miners are all over the place, and they have a pile of GPUs, and they're all useless because Ethereum switched to proof of stake about a year ago. So now they want to repurpose all those GPUs for AI, which would make a lot of sense. All right, and so this is interesting. We're going to see examples of hallucination later. Hallucination is a big problem. When you ask AI something, it will often just make up an answer that is completely wrong, and so they're trying to develop a new tool here that will prevent this in Writer. Writer is a generative AI writing program, and it's going to add something called Knowledge Graph, so you as a company can feed in all your current content, your manuals and everything, and it will compare the answers to that and try to detect things that look wrong and then highlight them for human review. So it sounds like a good idea. We'll see how effective it is, but certainly this is a good thing. People should be aware that an AI will just make things up. Just yesterday, I was I was working with people at Pulse Security Weekly, and they were trying to make a summary of it. And when you just ask AI to write a promo for Pulse Security Weekly, it would brag about people that are not on the show. People from other competing shows will just appear, because that's the kind of mistake AI makes. And it would be really good if it would highlight the suspicious things and make it easier to clean out the mistakes. Twitter, for example, Twitter's been a dumpster fire since Elon Musk fired 80% of the staff. So a lot of things going on at Twitter are not working well. And here's one that somebody found. If you start typing something, it will now recommend appalling things like child porn. If you put in dog, it will try to show you videos about dogs being tortured and killed. Same with cats, same with hamsters. And that just started recently. So Twitter's fix was to turn off all autocomplete. So it will no longer guess what you're searching for, because apparently somehow the autocomplete got poisoned. That's probably an AI too, and it probably got poisoned somehow. So this is, I don't understand what's going on with this. DeSantis just passed a bill that you can't give trans people the medical treatment they need, and you can't teach black history anywhere, but now you have to teach Asian Pacific Islander history, which seems like that's woke. That seems like the opposite of his whole thing, which is everything should be like 1950 and it should be 100% white supremacy. So I wonder what he's talking about. That's very out of character. So yeah, I'm sure the commentary will appear to try to explain that. And this is news to me. I didn't know this. Walgreens in San Francisco, the guards have guns and they just killed somebody? I had no idea that there was any stores in San Francisco with guards with retail guns. There's guards at Safeway, they have no gun. But anyway, they had guns and they killed somebody a week or two ago. So now they've given them non-lethal guns, which fire plastic pellets, and it turns out that those guns are not approved legally. Although apparently real guns are approved, this is news to me. I'm not aware of shopping in any store around here where they have a guard with a real gun.
They fire private security.
Private secure, but most private security guards don't even fight. They just observe and report.
No, they carry guns.
They have a gun?
Yes.
Yeah, well, apparently so. I've never noticed it. Anyway, yeah, this guy named Banco Brown got shot by a security guard 2 weeks ago, so that's news to me. Anyway.
No, there are too many thefts.
Oh, there is a lot of theft, but I think having the guy shooting guns in the store would be worse than the theft. I think most people would rather not have guards shooting off guns.
They got so bad that Walgreens had to close up a couple of shops.
Well, yeah, that's right. Now, Walgreens said they closed up shop because of theft, but probably they closed up shop because the downtown traffic is so low you can't make money anymore.
No, it's not the traffic.
Yeah.
A lot of homeless traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There's also a lot of theft, but I think an armed guard is probably not the wisest response to theft. But anyway,
They have to have guards.
Oh, they have to have guards, but I don't think they have to have armed guards shooting people. I think shooting people is probably worse. Anyway, I'm going to stop this recording.